you guys ready for your next comic? Can we kick this off? All right, I want you to be very loud and give it up for Bear Love. Yo, give it up for Dan one time, bro. Okay, I gotta move that. Hippies are a little clumsy. And I look young, but I come from a different time. I've had a beeper in my day. And it wasn't even to sell weed yet. It was so my mom could tell me to come home. I knew they were tracking devices. But I come from a different time. I saw Blockbuster get put out of business by Netflix. I saw one of my favorite, Toys R Us, get put out of business by Amazon. I saw heroin get put out of business by fentanyl. I come from a time where you could find a mystery bag of powders on the barroom floor, go home and have a good night. Nowadays, these kids have to know chemistry in order to take that cocaine home. I didn't come from free love like the hippies, but I at least came from mystery bag of powders is okay. But a hippie feels safe in Colorado because you guys went and legalized pot. Kind of put me out of a job, though. Nobody tells you what happened to the weed man, the one that made it out? He delivers pizza. DoorDash. And these people with the snowboard racks on the top of their car looking like police. They're slowing down your food, I'm sorry. But you guys think it's easy being a hippie because I don't have a real job? But how many times have you used your job to get out of doing things you didn't want to do? These people know I don't have to work in the morning. I had to move a fish tank on Tuesday. I have to go out to Lamone this weekend to pick up a pit bull. I thought it would be nice if my friend got off of my couch by getting over his breakup. But instead, we're getting a dog this weekend. Sometimes it'd be easier to have a real job. Be a real boy. But since you guys legalized pot here, I'm not too worried about, the government looking in on my life, But if the NSA is going to be watching us, they should be giving us some stats, right? Am I actually the worst driver in Denver? Or is that just what my ex-girlfriend says? I feel like they have these numbers. I'm in the top 1% in this city of texting I'm on the way while still laying in bed. They have these numbers, you know what I mean? Any parents in the crowd? Yes. Well, hippies, we're pretty childish, so we didn't have a lot of kids. You guys keep track of how good your kids are doing, but the height on the wall? We keep track of the length of our hair as the last time we saw a judge. I'm doing pretty good. But my buddy, his parents are hippies. And growing up is confusing enough, but how do you go through that rebellious phase when you've got hippie parents? Get a job, go to school. It's kind of hard to run away from your dad's TP, and he chases you down on horseback and says, it's cool, bro, we can talk about it. But hippies did some good things for society. They invented the word grounded. Take away the TV, take away the phone, get grounded. Before that, we just beat our kids. I think I'm still grounded. But in my buddy's family, a spooning means laying with your lover. In my family, a spooning means getting hit with a wooden spoon when you try and taste the gravy too soon. My buddy's family, he got to choose his own punishment when he got in trouble. I'm like, what does that even mean? His parents are hippies. I got to choose the stick my grandma would whoop me with after the tree. Differences when you got hippie parents. So I'm at Burning Man with my hippie friends and their parents, and I'm with Blu-ray and Soulmar, and I'm going by Bear Love, which is not my birth name. And they were like, what's our hippie name? What's our Burning Man name? And their names are Blu-ray and Soulmar. And I was like, you guys kind of already came with hippie names. You know what I mean? Parents are hippies. So the whole Burning Man, they went by Bob and Sam. You go by Bob, I'll go by Sam. It was perfect. So, but like I said, you guys put me out of work. I used to grow pot high up in the Colorado Rockies, double meaning. And the worst thing that can happen to you when you're at a weed grow is the police to show up. A close second is running out of Kool-Aid. So the second one happened to us. And we're up there, and we're out of Kool-Aid, but my girlfriend shops at Costco, so we have a bunch of sugar. And I look up in the cabinet, and we're out of Kool-Aid. Have you guys ever been so stoned you thought you invented something that you didn't really? That happened to me in Conifer. So we're growing pot, we're out of Kool-Aid. I look up in the cabinet, and all these hippies have brought some tea up there. So I got all this tea packets, and we got sugar, so I'm like, great, could flavor the sugar water with the tea. So for 3 days, my girlfriend called me out, "You want another batch of sugar water tea, honey? What flavor?" You know, and it's better than the artificial flavors in Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? It's like artificial flavors, and you can get your different flavors with the sugar water tea. And so my friends didn't call me out. They're like, they probably thought there was pot in it, knowing me, but it was just celestial seasons, sleepy time. But your family will keep you in check. My cousin came up from Texas, and I'm telling him about my great idea to open up a stand at Red Rocks, you know what I mean? You can have the different flavors of sugar water tea. He takes a sip and says, "This is really good, Bear, but you did not invent sweet tea." But I got a little bit of gray in my beard, so you can say I'm going through a midlife. But my generation just doesn't know how to do a midlife crisis. My dad bought a Corvette, spins in circles. My generation doesn't have Corvette money. So a midlife crisis for my generation looks like a 35-year-old should be trading recipes with the other moms at school, but instead this week she's getting her head shaved. Britney Spears. That's a midlife crisis for the girls of my generation. I'm still trying to date. Now, I'm not picking on the girls, the guys are doing it too. You know, he should have joined the military, I guess, 25 years ago. But instead he's been working in a factory with his dad. His knees are gone. But you'll find him this weekend at Bass Pro Shop, looking for night vision goggles to hunt a deer. If you need night vision goggles to hunt a deer, you're not the warrior we need, Tanner. Okay, I look like a pretty psychedelic being. Let me tell you, did you guys know there's rules to doing psychedelics? No. Well, I didn't either. But I was at Burning Man with my friend, and I forgot my goggles. And it's out there in the desert, which I guess that's one of the rules, bring your goggles to Burning Man. But me and my friend, we both forgot our goggles, and I look up, and there's this literally like a Gandalf-like guy. And he says, he saw us eating asses. And he goes, "You know the rules of psychedelics at Burning Man, right?" I thought he was joking. There ain't no fucking rules. Yeah. He goes, "Yeah. Water's still wet, fire's hot, and you can't fly." But then he added in, "Don't forget your goggles," and we had already done the last one, so we're messing with witchcraft now. So we eat our ass and we journey out into the desert, and I met the girl of my dreams. Yeah. And her friend that she brought from home that was a male that, from this point in the story, we'll call him Cockblocker. Okay, so me and my cockblocker and my love are rolling through Burning Man camps. You know, and Burning Man's like Disneyland for people on acid. So we're rolling through all the fucking things. You know, this camp you can make your own peyote. Oh, sweet. And we go to all the different camps, and our tag along is he's like literally not even having fun. He's just like, you know what I mean? Burning Man is a costume like thing. So I'm dressed up as Wolverine. And she's dressed up as Fairy Wings, you know, in the tutu and the whole thing. He's dressed up as Napoleon Dynamite, I swear to God. So we're rolling from event to event, you know, we're fucking blowing bubbles, you know, we're making crafts, you know. And then that wizard, his words hit me. He was like, "Don't forget your goggles." And a dust storm whips up. You know, they're burning stuff out in the desert, and with that heat and the cold, tornadoes literally whip up in the desert. And I'm like, holy shit. So there's a bunch of camps like all set up. There's 70,000 people out there. So we just beeline to the closest place. And me and her are kind of trying to ditch, you know, Napoleon. You know, so we run into a teepee. And I'm like, close the door as I get it. And they were because the storm's coming. So they're like putting the teepee closed up. He just makes it in. And so here we are. And this big guy goes, "Welcome to Munchkin Land." And it was a massage camp, but it was in a teepee. And there was like a bunch of mats laid out, you know, like you're taking nap time in kindergarten, but people were massaging each other on these mats. And so a massage camp at Burning Man is only not an orgy for 33 minutes. I was in there for 34. Yeah, for hippies, most group sex doesn't start because we want to, it's because of a cockblocker. We weren't trying to involve others. All right, so we're having fun. You know, it's the craziest thing, but it starts out chill. You know, we get on a mat, and like I'm just rubbing her shoulders, and he comes and sits down and starts rubbing her feet. I'm like, motherfucker, So you know what I mean? And then he starts rubbing her calf node, and so I moved down to her arms, I'm moving her hands, and he moves up to her inner thighs. Most competitive massage ever. She's loving it. And I move, so I go to the side boob, and we didn't know that every other mat was watching us to see if we're going to take it there. It was contagious, I guess. So here we are over here, and a Burning Man orgy is hilarious. I'm Wolverine. There's some Scooby-Doo is in there with the Loch Ness Monster. That was fucking nuts. There's like literally unicorns. It's the craziest thing. So we all, it's literally it ended as fast as it started. Everybody's like kind of embarrassed, like now the storm's over. So we all wrap up, and I'm ready to get back to my tent. And they're like, we gotta go to our camp, we'll meet you later. And so as I'm about to leave, this guy comes up and he's got this hat on like Sonic the Hedgehog. And he goes, you are now the mayor of Munchkinland. And he gave me this big hat. And so when you mess with the witchcraft of breaking the rules of Burning Man, it's like Russian roulette of psychedelics. You don't know what you're going to get. I ended up in an orgy, and it worked out. I'm the mayor of Munchkinland. But I think the massage guy really wanted to turn that into an orgy the whole time, and I just pushed the domino over. But either way, I got this cool hat, and my buddy, who also forgot his goggles, he ends up on the other side of Burning Man. And Burning Man's like a C, and there's different layers as you go further and further out. And so he's out at the L, A is, he's way out on the edge of Burning Man. And he finds a camp written in Christmas lights. And it says Anal Block Camp. He gets closer and sees it says bead. Anal Bead Camp. So he thinks it's a joke, because some of the camps are jokes at Burning Man. So he gets up there, he's on the same acid as me. And he gets up in there, and it's like a circus tent. Definitely anal bead camp when he gets inside. There's a girl on a table, and she looks at him. He wants to have a conversation, but she doesn't say nothing. She looks at the table. And there's a little side table, and it's got a bunch of anal beads of all shapes and sizes. KY jelly and gloves. And he's like, literally wants to chicken out, and he's like, nut up or shut up. So he goes in, and he's like, we're doing this. And he thinks it's still a joke, but as he gets closer, she does like a move and arches her back. Now they're looking eye to eye, brown eye. So he goes over there, he's like, I'm not gonna be a bitch. So he goes and picks up some, he doesn't want to be rude and pick the biggest one. So he doesn't want to grab the smallest one, suppose she's in. So he grabs the Goldilocks of anal beads, just right. And he goes up there, and she's ready, so he pops one in. And she doesn't make a peep. He's like, does she even like this? And so he pops another one in. Gets them all in. She so much has not said a word. And so he's like, maybe it's the speed. So like he's gonna start a lawnmower, he puts his foot up there, and he was not bringing his goggles, and when he pulled, the shit hit the fan. Literally, bring your goggles, don't forget the rules of psychedelics. What's funny, because I actually ran into my cock blocker in my love later, and so we're walking around, and she comes up to me, and she goes, guess what? I'm like, what? We're going back to Munchkinland? She goes, no, look, he proposed to me. And I realized in that moment, I had a moment of clarity, that I was the cock blocker. And that was his wife to be. All right, let's bring up our next comment. Let's get loud, come on. Thank you, guys. Okay, one more. If Jeffrey Dahmer was alive today, how many times do you think he would get ripped off trying to buy a fleshlight?